Okay, so let's go and finish off the code example that we started in the previous video relating to inheritance in Java. Okay, so let's continue. We've now got a basic superclass, as you can see here, enemy Java, and that's called the superclass. And the reason that you can see that you know that it's a superclass is we're calling the super to initialize it in the constructor. And what this soldier class is the subclass, so this inherits or extends the functionality from enemy. Now you can see at a glance, if we weren't able to use inheritance and we wanted the soldier to have the functionality for getting and setting hit points and taking damage and so on, we would have to write that code each time in the class. And you can see that would would take a long time, and certainly the code would be very redundant. We'd be sort of creating this duplicate code all the time. So that's one of the beauties about this extending a class or using inheritance, is that we can write the code once. But we can also do something else. We can override some functions. So let's assume, for example, we're going to create another type of soldier. We're going to call this soldier a super soldier. We're still going to extends from enemy. Now incidentally, if I wanted to, I could have extended it straight from soldier. So you can sort of do this at multiple levels if you wanted to. So it could be a subclass. Super soldier could have been a subclass of the soldier if you wanted to take it to that level. But for simplicity reasons in this tutorial, I'm not going to do that. But you can see how this could be useful. So you could end up having a number of different types of soldiers, and you could have the common functionality for a particular soldier written once, which would then apply to all soldiers. But we're not going to do this here, but let's assume what we need to do first is we need to create our constructor. Still need to do that because we're using the extend function, or we're using inheritance. So public super soldier. And same thing, hit points, lives, super, hit points, lives. And I've got a typo there. Very important to make sure you get your typos sorted. Case sensitivity is something that Java is very hot on, so often you get a little mistake like that, as you can see, is enough for it to cause a lot of problems when it's just purely a typo because it's not uppercase. So keep that in mind, that a lot of errors as you're learning Java will probably be related to things like that. But let's assume that because this is a super soldier, whenever it takes any damage, this super soldier, it only gets 50% of the total damage because it's got some sort of super armor on it. And this is where the interesting part of overriding a function comes in. So if you recall, enemy Java, we had this function, public void take damage. I'm just going to copy that into super soldier. Just so we're going to use that exact same method, but I'm going to take out, we're not actually going to use the setter because we're still going to use the basic class for that, but let's assume that whatever damage is taken is halved. So we can delete that. We can put super dot take damage divided by 2. So what we're doing is we're automatically saying any damage received from the super soldier, it's calling the super dot take damage, and it's passing the parameter of the current value of damage but divided by 2. So whatever is passed, we're going to sort of deduct 50% of the damage. So you can see it's using the super.take damage. So I'll get rid of this printout, this system.out, because we don't need that there. So it's still using the functionality that we've defined in enemy. Still using take damage there, but we're overriding that. So what we're saying is we're overriding the functionality that's defined in take damage and replacing it with our own. And one of the first things, or in this case the only thing we're doing, is we're still calling the original functionality that was defined in enemy. We're still doing that, but we're passing half the amount of damage. Because of course, soldier, if we look in demo, we had soldier.take damage 8, and it still took 8 points of damage. So let's see if this works. I'll save it. We'll go back to demo. And we're going to do a super soldier this time. So super soldier Okay, then we'll just copy these and then just override them. And just to replace them, I should say, copy and paste. Okay. And go back here. So you can see what we've done there. We've created a super soldier. Same amount of hit points and same lives. And we've just printed it out to confirm that. But then we've done super soldier.take damage. And actually what I didn't do, which I probably should have, just wanted to show you this, dot take. Now you notice this when I do take damage, I started typing take damage. You remember last time, up here for soldier, it showed you that was enemy. This time, it's telling you that, okay, there is actually now a function called super soldier, a function in, or method, same thing, in super soldier called take damage. And this is the one we're going to be calling. So I should take damage, and I'm going to put 8 again. Save that, and let's run it. So you can see again what happened was the first generic enemy. Second time it was our soldier with 25 hit points and 1 life. 8 points damage taken and have 17 left. Hit points for the third one, the super soldier, 25 lives 1. Only took 4 points of damage and has 21 left. And that's of course because in the super soldier we overrode that functionality to do what we wanted. So that's what an override is. So it's sort of just overriding that functionality. Now the rules are when you're overriding, you have to override things exactly. Like for example, we can put something like this. You might be looking at that thinking, well, how come it's allowing me to put take damage in twice? Well, the reason for that is this is not overriding that function in enemy, because the function in enemy, the function was the entire method signature. So if you want to override it, it has to be identical. The method has to be the same. The parameters have to be the same. Everything has to be the same for it to work. If you don't do that, you're not overriding that function. And just to show you, if I go back here and I just comment this out and save it, you notice this is still working. It's still got an option there. It still hasn't crashed, but if we run this, what's happened, you can see that it's took 8 points of damage and have 17 left. You might be wondering, well, hang on a minute, I've created this function. Why isn't this being called? Well, that's because we passed a parameter of an integer and not a float. Just to be clear, we'll put this here. We'll put system.out. Take damage call, just so we know that if that gets called, it'll be very clear. We go back to the demo again. So you notice that wasn't called. So what happened was, it now, because we've commented out the overriding function in the super soldier, it didn't find that. So therefore it went back to enemy Java and found the take damage function method from there, and that's what it's executed. Now we could override this again in demo.java. We can put float the damage equals 5.0f, and we could put super soldier dot take. Now notice there's 2 parameters here, and this really makes it really quite clear on the screen as well. You've got take damage float super soldier or int damage enemy, because again that's overridden. So we can choose this one and pass the damage. Has to be the damage because it has to be the right type of variable. So now if we save that, it's because I opened the screen up, it's over here now. But take damage has been called. So you can see what's happened. It knows for this call, because we've passed that parameter, we actually got that bit of code executed. So again, if we just uncomment now this override function, we go back to demo, and I just want to show you if we do a take damage now. Well, we'll delete that and put dot take. Now you notice now that they are both Super Soldier again because I've uncommented it in Super Soldier, but there's still the float and the int, so you can still choose which parameter you want to pass. In actual fact, you need to get the right one. So that's Java is enforcing the type to make sure that that's accurate, and depending on the function that you call, it'll be depending on the type. In this case, it's the type that you're passing, so the damage. So again, both seemingly identical methods, but they aren't identical because one's a float and one's an integer. And it's the whole method that's taken into consideration, including parameters, that sort of gets taken into account before there's any sort of problems with duplication. So what you couldn't do, we couldn't go public void take damage into damage again, because that's a duplicate. And that's going to complain that there's a duplicate there. Duplicate method take damage int. That's because there's already a method by the name of take damage that has got the parameter of int. But we could quite easily make that a string if we wanted to, and that would be quite happy again. So there you go. I hope that's given you a good overview of inheritance and also how to override a function as well. I'll just go back and clean that up. Get rid of that now. Okay, I'm going to leave the video for there. As always, if you've got questions, feel free to leave them as a discussion, and I'll get back to you as quickly as I can. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next videos.